A big reason for the Minnesota Vikings 6-5 start this season has been the growth of our defense under Brian Flores, and namely one player who's going to have a pretty big task this Sunday against the Chicago Bears, and that is undrafted linebacker Ivan Pace
Let's
Jr.
go.
Ever since now that Jordan Hicks isn't in there, he's got the green dot. And overall this year, man, he has proved why this team wanted him so bad in undrafted free agency, and why a lot of other teams made a terrible mistake not drafting him. And I mean, and his stats at this point back it up.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, this is his PFF grade, and Ivan Pace, like you said, like an undrafted free agent, a guy that a lot of people had him going at least between the third and the fifth round, and he ends up not dropping to us, but we end up grabbing him an undrafted free agent, and he's been a starter since week one, and with an overall grade on PFF of 76.8, run defense 66.7, and a pass rush 81.1, coverage 69.1, and all the way to the point where now he's wearing the green dot on this team as an undrafted free agent rookie, which is nothing close to impressive.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where he was and I know they experimented putting the green dot on him in training camp and in preseason, which is crazy. Again, undrafted
Mhm.
free agent, right? It's insane. I mean, and his production and talent in college definitely showed he was a starting caliber linebacker. It's just the main reason that he fell so far was because of his size. He is an undersized linebacker, which, and this team, it was kind of a weird fit at first because we expected a lot of things from Brian Asamoah, which we haven't quite seen yet. I know he's still got that nagging injury, but he hasn't seen much of the field. So we were thinking,
Mhm.
really, we're going to have two undersized linebackers, starting on this team. And obviously, Jordan Hicks has been playing much better than expected. So it's been nice that Ivan Pace Jr. hasn't had to come in and be that alpha dog number one, but he's still been playing like it, and it's absolutely crazy. And as I said, this game against Chicago, he's going to have a very important role, I feel like, because I mean, a big part of playing this team, especially with a healthy Justin Fields, is spying him and making sure that he doesn't escape the
Right.
pocket. And I mean, obviously, we want to start talking about defense. We'll get into we'll get into our offense versus their defense a little later on. But I really do think the biggest component of this game is going to be containing Justin Fields, keeping him in the pocket and making him beat you with his arms. Because last week, 18 carries, 104 yards in his first game back since his injury the last time we played them. On the ground, he threw for 169 yards and one touchdown. So DJ Moore, if you want to talk about the passing game, DJ Moore really is that guy you have to watch out for. But I'm more worried about him from a running perspective, which every time you play Justin Fields, that's one of the main things that you do have to worry about, because that's why so many people had him so high in their dark horse MVP rankings this offseason, was because of
Mhm.
his ability to move, right? And that's the number one thing. And we did a solid job of it that first game, and we still had like 46 yards on 8 carries, I believe it was, and he did leave that game early. But and again, this is the type of quarterback that before these last couple of years has always given this team fits. We feel like with Brian Flores, he's a little bit better at
Right.
preparing for each individual quarterback that he has to play. So Ivan Pace, man, I do feel like they are going to have him kind of be that guy spying on Justin Fields, and we're gonna need him to come to play, because if Justin Fields starts beating you with his legs, then you got to worry. Then that's another added element. Then he can start beating you in the passing game. So man, I mean, how are you feeling about this matchup here? Because I really do feel like it is imperative to keep Justin Fields contained and not let him do
Yeah.
what he does with his legs so often.
He's the X factor in this game for the Bears. Obviously coming back and injured against us last time, and like you said, 8 carries for, what do we say, 46 yards. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
8 carries for 46 yards, not even playing a whole game. So he was already doing that kind of stuff we needed to stop last time, and it's something we should have known last time. I think the last time we played the Bears and we had this conversation before, it was kind of the same idea, and we're going into this the same exact way. And I think you're right. I think Ivan Pace is going to be the guy. He's going to have the green dot. I think you're going to take the inside middle linebacker or inside linebacker and make him the spy here, especially someone with his speed and his kind of relentless attitude, the motor that this kid has. And I mean, his first game with the green dot, I actually did want to bring this because we were looking at the PFF grades, and he ended up last week against Denver in his first time with that green dot in his career, 77.9 overall defensive grade, and he had 92.5 in run defense. And you're talking about a team, I think this team is like top 5 in run according to PFF, the Chicago Bears, and that's with and without Justin Fields. And now you bring Justin Fields, it's going to be a bigger deal. So it'd be nice to have, Ivan Pace coming off a game where he had a 92.5 run defense grade to keep Justin Fields in check, keep him, do whatever they can to keep him in the pocket and have to use his arm, because last time he also played against us, he was I think he was 6 for 10 for like 50 yards and threw or an interception with 0 throwing touchdowns. So
Yeah,
that's
and yeah,
something that we
DJ Moore didn't get
definitely
his
have to worry
first.
about.
Yeah, DJ Moore didn't get his first score until Tyson Bagent came in the game.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we held that
So we
combo
have
in
to,
check, and that was Justin or DJ Moore coming off, what was it, like a 200-yard game with two or three touchdowns the game before on a Thursday night.
yep.
So
Yep,
holding
yep.
that combo in check after they performed like that the week before was huge.
And not just that, but also everybody who's watching this, you guys did us a huge favor by getting us to 1,000 subscribers that we hit this week. So we appreciate all of you. If you're new here, we would like you would hit that like button if you like what you see, and subscribe if you like what you see. Appreciate all of you. But yeah, another thing is we're talking about Justin Fields in general. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's also the run game. Like and now they have what's their running back that started the season? I always forget his name sometimes.
Rashawn Johnson.
No, not the rookie.
Because they have Deontay Foreman and Khalil Herbert.
Herbert, yeah, with Herbert back too, and Foreman's just been a stud ever since he's been out. He's had a couple huge games. He's been a scoring machine, and they've been running all over teams. And that's like the only thing we kind of have to worry about. And that's from a Justin Fields standpoint and the running back standpoint, is we need to keep that in check. And this was a similar thing that I felt like we had to do against the Broncos last week, which we did a fantastic job. I think. I think. Other than in the past game with Sammy Perrine or whatever, and towards the end of the game. But as far as actual running goes, we let Javonte Williams only had like 9 carries for like 30 something yards or something stupid like that. So so we did it well against them last week, but we have to do that exact same thing. And then that comes down to, your defensive tackles and, the other linebackers and things like that. So I think as a whole on defense, we got to stop the run. We got to not just keep Justin Fields in the pocket, but get pressure, make him make mistakes. That brings up guys like Danielle Hunter and DJ Wonnum, who's made strides this year actually as a pass rusher in his game, because he's not just getting these boring sacks that people want to say. He's looking like he's making some impacts even when he's not tackling or sacking the quarterback. And then also to Ivan Pace, obviously, he had like an 80. I talked about his pass rush grade, which is around 80 or whatever, and he is a very good linebacker, especially inside linebacker at pass rushing, but he only has 1 sack on the season. So hopefully we see him start to get home a little bit there as well. But outside of that, on defense, of course, keep covering the same way we have to. DJ Moore is kind of the only threat we have to worry about, a really good player who really started picking it up after earlier in the season. And if we can get him out of this game, I'm not really worried about their other receiving options.
For sure. I mean, and maybe you might need to worry about Cole Kmet a little bit. He has had some big games this year. But overall,
I'm not too worried, but right. We do.
But the name of the game here is Justin Fields. Keep him in the pocket, make him throw, and everything's going to be fine there. And what's even more impressive about this defensive performance, kind of switching to the other side here, is this season with all the turnovers, especially last week, being put in some really bad spots. And I feel we are so good. This defense is the bend but don't break mentality. But you can't really call it that, because they've been put in some really bad spots. I mean, multiple times, or 2 times this last week, having to play deep in their own territory, even right away to start the game too. First or second play after kickoff, after the Joshua Dobbs fumbles. This defense has been playing phenomenal. So if you want to switch over to the offensive side here, you gotta. If you want your defense to keep playing as well, you cannot keep putting them in those situations. So this week, what's paramount is ball security against this team. I mean, this team, their defense started off pretty solid. I mean, they did get 3 interceptions on Jared Goff last week, but then allowed the Lions to come roaring back in the fourth quarter, 17 points, and eventually the Bears did end up losing that game. But so that just goes to show you this defense can be taken advantage of. And this offense, we need them clicking on all cylinders, because the last time we played them, it was one of those games where it's like, the offense did just enough to win, but it wasn't anything super spectacular. Obviously, that was relatively shortly after Justin Jefferson went out. But so the main thing with this team is you cannot turn the ball over, because we've seen what this team can be if you just continue to grind out drives. Like without the Joshua Dobbs fumble, you feel like we'd have been able to get a drive going there to start the game. We were driving down the field before the Alexander Madison fumble. So what's paramount is Kevin O'Connell getting on these guys about ball security. And I saw his press conference from today when we're recording this, and they asked him about Alexander Mattison. He said, I like a lot of the things he does, but the one thing we do need to talk to him about is ball security. And that shit goes for the entire team. You can't have fumbles in big situations like that when you were about to drive down the field and really take control of this game. So, and it does sound like Justin Jefferson probably won't be back again. So I think we need to see a nice mix of Ty Chandler along with Alexander Mattison. And I think you need to get Josh Dobbs in some better situations to complete some passes. And we got to get the wide receivers involved. We got to get Addison back involved. We got to get KJ back involved. That's only going to open up TJ Hawkinson, who seems to be Josh Dobbs' favorite target, even more. So, I mean, I just think it's paramount. Hold on to the football. We all know that. But you got to just keep finding that consistency on offense. You got to mix in Ty Chandler. And it's just going to open up the entirety of the passing game as well.
Yeah, and you already mentioned kind of with Kevin O'Connell. I mean, he has to just keep putting his foot on the pedal, or putting his foot on the gas and not letting go. Obviously, in these last couple games, we started seeing the conservative in the second half of that Saints game, and it kind of went into this Denver Broncos game. He needs to change that and be more aggressive on offense. And I'm not saying like on fourth down and stuff like that, but get the ball down the field. We need to see what Josh Dobbs can do airing it out. And I know other teams with the other teams that watched the Broncos play against us and kind of seen what happened when you started to consistently put pressure on Josh Dobbs, which he was making some erratic throws, but making erratic throws. But this is a Vikings team that their offensive line, other than the end of last game, has completely turned around, and they're the highest graded pass blocking team in the NFL. And on the other side of this ball in this game, you're against the team who is the worst graded pass rushers in the entire NFL. So this should be a game where no question you should be able to hold strong in the trenches, at least on offense and defense, or offense on our side and then defense on their side, to control the game and give Josh Dobbs to make decisions and to get the ball out. And hopefully we do see some deep threats. And you were talking about Addison. It's time to get him more involved. He doesn't have to only try to get open. Like, just make him touch the ball at least a couple times. I don't care if it is your screen plays or whatever you want to do. Just put him in there and let him get some touches here, because we need him. And right now he is our best wide receiver on this team. And in my opinion, by quite a bit. Obviously, I don't think Josh Dobbs has the quite chemistry with him, and we are seeing that chemistry with Brandon Powell already early, so I do want to see more of him. But until Justin Jefferson gets back, you need to get Addison the ball, and I do think that's going to give you a better chance to win. But overall, like you said, it really is going to come down to again, not fumbling the ball. We win almost every game this season if we do not fumble 2 or 3 times in one game, or just turn over the ball 3 times in one game, and not getting any turnovers in that game as well. So obviously we got to change that. I think if we get no turnovers, we're just a far superior team against this Bears team. So we should just win only because of that. But don't play conservative. If we get up early, keep your foot on the pedal and just outright win this game. There's no reason to let them come back. I don't care if we're up 31-3, like we were up 20, was it 26 or 27-3 against the Saints?
24-3, I believe.
24-3.
It was
27.
I don't know.
I think it was 27.
We had a big lead, though. We had a big lead.
Yeah, 27-3. And then don't take your foot off the gas. Don't take it off. Just keep going. I don't care if it's 50-3. Just keep pushing. We need to keep that same mentality. There's no reason to pull back on that. And then, of course, this Bears defense, they're playing against a guy that they haven't played against. They're going to have to game plan against us, kind of how teams have to game plan against them. So it should be interesting.
And talking about their defense, I mean, if you want to talk about getting receivers involved, and maybe if you want to talk about Kevin O'Connell not running the ball too much, this is the defense play against. Because overall this season, they're allowing 245 pass yards per game, which is 26th in the league. And they're only allowing 79 rush yards per game, which is 2nd in the league. But they allow 26 points per game, which is 5th worst in the NFL. So, I mean, this defense, you can get after them through the air. And that's, again, kind of what we want to see more of. I mean, obviously you still do need to try to run the ball. And I think against this defense, yes, they are really good against the run, but you still need to try your best to get some runs in there just to keep the defense honest. But I think this would be the prime opportunity going into the bye week to get your wide receivers and Addison, KJ, Brandon Powell, maybe even Jalen Naylor involved in this game, get their confidence going into the bye week. to where Justin Jefferson will come back after that. But yeah, man, like this defense can get got 320, and they're also allowing 325 yards per game, which is right pretty much dead center right in the middle of the league. So this offense should be able to find some room against this defense, especially through the air. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if our running backs can break off some big runs against them. If we can just keep sustaining drives, keep our offense on the field, keep them guessing, which leads to Kevin O'Connell just keeping that creative play calling that honestly, we have seen him, unless they have a big lead, of course, we have seen him be much better since the 49ers game. So I mean, I just want to see this offense. Like again, we always talk about it. We want to just see that pure domination in a football game. And you're at
Which we
home.
almost got against the Saints. We almost got it.
Right.
So
but
close.
You're at home, Monday Night Football, coming off a loss. This team needs to come out ready to play. And that's the one thing I will say. Like sometimes early in the season, maybe even sometimes last year, but a lot under the Zimmer regime, there was a lot of games you could just be like, man, this team just is not ready to play. I don't think these last few weeks you cannot say that under Kevin O'Connell. Like we have actually come out firing. Like, yeah, last week we had the turnover, right? But we have come out and we haven't had like those lulls early on in a game where we're just not doing anything on offense. Like this team's been producing. It's just finishing drives. And that's another thing, finishing drives in the red zone, which we have been solid at the last couple of weeks, but obviously it can always get better. And that's one thing they need to do as well. Finish the drives, don't settle for field goals. And that's how you're going to find a way to dominate a much inferior Chicago Bears team.
Yeah, and that's a big, huge positive of having a guy like Josh Dobbs who is mobile is he's been able to extend drives with his legs, and that's something that we have missed with Kirk Cousins. Whether you think Kirk Cousins, whatever, regardless of that, but you do have a mobile quarterback. That I do think that's some of the reason why we do extend these drives is because he can take off and get a first down with his legs. But besides that, like I said this earlier, but I want to, talk about it again because of the importance of it is I do think if we want to win on offense, which this should be a game that we do, because you're talking about, their defensive stats and they're also the third worst graded defense in the league, but they watched the Broncos game and I talked about it. They're going to want to bring the pass rush because that's when Josh Dobbs kind of looked uncomfortable. Even if their pass rush sucks, I still think that's what they're going to do. The one way we get them to stop doing that, to change their defensive scheme, is to get the deep ball going. The deep ball needs to happen. We can't keep only throwing short. Dobbs, and I'm assuming it's probably a Dobbs issue more than anything, but maybe it's the confidence, maybe it is KOC making sure, like keeping him comfortable with his plays or whatever, but it needs to happen because otherwise these safeties keep coming up and then you'll have like 2 or 3 guys short on all these short plays like we seen last week, and then Dobbs is throwing into 3 people, or even worse in this case because of the pressure is then it allows them to bring in a lot more people to blitz because they're not as worried about the deep ball. So I do think that's something on this team that we need to do at least a couple times. We need to scare them deep, hopefully in this game. And I think even a couple times of doing that will obviously set up the run as well. It sets up everything. And we talked about before, it's going to be hard that's like the one thing that we might have to worry about on this offense this week is our run game. And if we want that to get going, you got to throw deep, so.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Because like you run a lot and like you do the runs and you throw short to set up play action and deep shots, right? Like you said, the safeties
and then it's
move
like
up,
the opposite.
And then the safeties move up and you can get a deep shot down the field. Like that's the whole point. Like that is calling an offense where you're progressing throughout the entire game. Like that's game planning. So yeah, we do need to see more of that. And again, maybe it is a little bit of concern with Josh Dobbs' arm. Maybe it's concern he doesn't know the offense fully yet. I don't know, but it's one of those things to where it's got, we need to stretch the field a little bit. And and that's
definitely,
and I think we can do that against his team, especially with the yards that they're giving up through the air. That's the key to coming out and getting a dominating victory against the Chicago Bears. So Monday Night Football at home, US Bank Stadium. Do we get that dominating win? What are your score predictions?
I think we will. I think we're going to bounce back. I think we really want to win this game because we just had an ugly loss. The best thing you can do after a loss like that is come back and have a really good win, especially going into a bye week where you can carry that momentum and with the idea of Justin Jefferson hopefully coming back after that. So I'm going to say 31-14.
Okay.
I think it's going to be significant. Which isn't crazy to say. I don't think that's a crazy score either, because we've seen our offense can do it,
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I'm
What's your
thinking like I'm gonna go like 27-14. I'm gonna come down just a little bit off of that, but I do feel like this is the game where you can get that double digit victory. I'm just really excited to see the game plan for Justin Fields. I mean, obviously we got to see a little bit of it earlier on in the season, but now that I feel like this defense is really clicking and firing on all cylinders, I'm really excited to see what we do against Justin Fields. So we want to know what you guys think about this game, though. Drop your score predictions down in the comment section for us. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time right here on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.